Brooks drilled to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win.
And he drives one to right field over toward the line. Long run for Laureano, and he home runs it, and the Mets win the ball game.
Episode 61 of The Burrows, and it's a real doozy. I'm Kevin Brunk, joined by Michael Merlo. We'll talk Yankees later on. It's a little bit of positivity in the show, but it is a heavy Mets rage show today, especially for our boy Mike, because they've lost 60 of their last 61 games now. They just got swept by the Pirates in the most lopsided series sweep in Major League Baseball history, and I think that there is just nothing positive today. I mean, last week I tried to come in with a couple positives, which was really just Soto and a couple injuries. Maybe he'll come back. Nothing today. I have absolutely nothing for you today, Mike.
We thought they were back. They split the series against the Braves. They look good in those final two games. And then you head to Pittsburgh and you take a crap in Pittsburgh and do absolutely nothing. It's literally the most lopsided 3-game series of all time. I'll read the stat for you. It's incredible what took place in Pittsburgh over this weekend. I can't even wrap my head around it.
And for a team, before we start going through all the stats, if you didn't follow it, which you obviously did if you're watching this, Mets lost 9-1 on Friday, 9-2 on Saturday, 12-1. For a team in the Pirates that all we've spoken about all year is they cannot hit, and their pitchers are forcing these low-scoring affairs for opponents, but losing all of them. For the Mets to go in and give up 100 runs in 3 games, this literally could not have gone worse. It's not a hyperbole. When you hear the stats, this literally could not have gone worse.
MLB teams since 1901 to score 30-plus runs, allow 4 or fewer runs, and strike out 25-plus batters in a 3-game series. The only team to ever do that is the Pittsburgh Pirates this weekend. It is incredible. Incredible. And they can pitch, right? They have a few pitchers. You didn't see Skeens. You saw Keller. You had the rain delay on Saturday, whatever. They have some pitchers. But you've got Dennis Santana and Genesis Cabrera in that bullpen shutting you down. Everybody shutting you down. You scored 4 runs in 3 games. 4 in 3 games. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing.
I mean, we've gone through a lot of the personnel stuff the last week or two during this bad stretch, and we can go back down that road. But the first question I have to ask you, as somebody who's in the Mets community more than anyone I know, at what point, if we haven't reached it already, because I haven't totally seen it, does either Stearns or Mendoza or both just start catching an absolute load of heat? This is reaching levels where I know we're still in that honeymoon phase with them because last year was so great and then they signed Soto and the start to this year was so great. But at what point does it just come crashing down on them?
I mean, I've seen on Twitter a little bit now, you have people starting to criticize David Stearns for the way he built this pitching staff and looking at the starters that he brought in. And I still won't go there. I had a couple people come up to me over the weekend and say that as well. I'm not going to go there yet because, the alternative is spending big money on pitching and it not working out or them getting hurt. And now you're hamstrung in other places. So, I don't want to play Monday morning quarterback here and say that David Stearns did not put a good team on the field. I'm not there yet. I'm not. I think they've dealt with a lot of injuries with the pitching staff. So I think, no, I don't think you should. Now, you want to talk about Eric Chavez? You think Eric Chavez should get some heat? Maybe. We could discuss that, but not Stearns and not Mendoza.
I think it's also tough, too, because I deal with this with Boone. We've spoken about Aaron Boone on this show a lot, but I think I'm more manager-friendly when it comes to these situations, and I don't like to just blame the manager because is it Carlos Mendoza's fault that Francisco Lindor's OPS has dropped 120 points over the last month? This is tough stuff for Mendoza to navigate, and it's just so bad right now on the field. But at the same time, you got to give him a little bit of slack. how are you not finding ways to put a better product on the field these last few weeks? Because you're playing a lot of teams that you should be beating up on, including the Pirates, who just kicked the crap out of you for 3 days.
Yeah, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I don't think anything is truly on Mendoza right now. Like, you can't watch that series. You can't watch, the early in the Braves series and say, well, that's the manager's fault. Like, if the pitching staff is giving you absolutely nothing, like Paul Blackburn has done a couple of times, or the start you get from Montas on Sunday, like, what is Mendoza supposed to do? Now, you want to criticize Mendoza for bringing Blackburn back out there for after the rain delay? You want to get on him for that? Sure, we could have that discussion. I thought it was very interesting that, almost an hour and a half rain delay, Paul Blackburn's back on the mound. We could have that discussion.
Yeah. But either way, does it even make a difference,
It probably doesn't make a difference. No,
because they're just not scoring at all. That's what's so frustrating right now is their pitching's been bad the last 2 weeks, but their offense has also been bad the last 2 weeks. I think when the Yankees were going through this spell, maybe they still are even, but when the Yankees were going through this bad slump, losing a lot of games, we at least were sitting here saying, all right, they're losing games 2-1, 1-0. The pitching is great. You could blame the offense solely. You could just blame the hitters. But you're right. You can't just blame Mendoza. You can't just blame the offense. You can't just blame the pitchers. You can blame the bullpen a little bit. You could blame Stearns a little bit. But it's tough to just pinpoint one thing or one person, player that is causing this because it's a collective effort.
Yeah. Their offense, which was supposed to be so great coming into this season, has never been great this year. They haven't hit with runners in scoring position all season long. So you look at the issues they're having offensively, it's the same issues they were having early in the season. They were just, I guess, getting lucky. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what was happening early in the season, but they never hit with runners in scoring position. I guess they hit more home runs, but either way, they hit the ball, Kevin, harder than most teams do. Their hard hit rate is, at the top of the league. They're just not finding holes. They're not finding gaps. They're finding gloves. And will this change? I don't know, because we're into July now and they're still one of the worst teams with runners in scoring position. So yeah, I don't know if this is going to change. This might just be an unlucky year offensively, and that's it.
I'll just pull up this comment quick too about Stearns. There's going to be some Stearns heat on this entire season if they don't get to the World Series, if they fall short, because I think of the pitching staff. And I have criticized the pitching staff, and truthfully, not something I'm happy about. My take about their starting pitchers from 2 weeks ago, when I said it was a casual take, that I don't trust half these guys in big games, even though they've shown me only good things this year, that take could not be aging better right now because the pitchers just don't look good.
And Peterson has been bad.
Yep, and Peterson, the one guy I said I would love to put him out there in a big game if I was the Mets and feel good about it, even he's looked bad. So it's just nothing going right. I say this a lot. I think the change of the calendar month goes a long way in baseball. And I really do think there's a morale difference in the clubhouse, because now you just break down those 2.5, 3 weeks of July until the All-Star break and say, let's just minimize the season to this stretch, get to the break, and then focus on the second half when we're in the second half. Let's forget about what just happened. I think it could go a long way for the Mets here.
You're coming home. You got the Brewers and the Yankees over the weekend. It's not an easy stretch. The Brewers have been playing good. You're going to see this Mizorowski kid on Wednesday. I think I'm going to get to the game.
Nice.
But I'm not going to sit here and kill Stearns yet. I'm not going to do that. This is still not on him, in my opinion. I still trust him. I still have faith in him. Yes, Cannon goes down. What are you going to do? Holmes has been pretty good. Like, I have no complaints with Clay Holmes right now. Who else has he brought in? Montas, one bad start, one good start. Okay, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to kill Stearns yet. I'm not going to do that.
I think with the conversation with Stearns, there's a couple things that could be true, but I'm going to go back to some stuff I said in the offseason, and I think we're at that point now. I said when they got Soto, and maybe a few shows after when they got Soto, I had just said with the Mets in 25, I don't think they're better than the Dodgers, and I don't think they have to be. I think you had to get Soto. and that should have been your priority of the offseason. It was. They got it done. But next year, I need to see a team that, on paper, I at least think can compete for a top starting staff in the league. The Mets could still end up doing that because of how strong they were the first 9 weeks of the season pitching, but I don't look at the roster on the pitching side and say they could have done, or they did all they could have done with the staff this offseason. But I also don't think they have to, and I don't think that falls on Stearns. But if this is the pitching staff every year of the next 5-6 years, then, maybe 6 years from now, show 685, we're ripping Stearns.
Kevin, 2 weeks ago, this was the best team in baseball.
Well, I never agreed with that. 2.5
weeks ago, this was the best team.
I was never sold, though.
Okay, but they had the best record in baseball.
Yes,
they were playing the best out of anybody.
They were. And this was 2 weeks of June.
This was the best team in baseball. And now they are on the worst stretch that they have been on in years.
And I don't know if you feel this way also. It's a long season. I'm the biggest advocate for marathon, not a sprint in Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. This does not feel like a 2 weeks that we just forget about in September.
I think I'm trying to keep as much faith as I possibly can. I do think that this is just a little bump in the road. Like honest to God, you're asking me honestly.
Yes.
I think this is just a bump in the road. I think they're going. I've still stayed with the same opinion that I think they're going to be fine.
And I think we're going to be sitting here in September saying this Mets team's really good. They're one of the 3 best teams in the National League. But I also think that this is not a World Series winner, pending an absolutely massive, incredible deadline. I also think this is not a World Series winner. And when they lose in the postseason, we're just going to say that was a really good Mets team. But I think the end of June really showed us that this just wasn't the year for them. But next year, I think the season will still be so good this year that next year you're going into it saying it's World Series or bust, like absolute World Series or bust.
I think that's like a dream scenario. I think you're dreaming in that scenario, because if they do get to the playoffs and they do move on and they do have some kind of run and they don't get to the World Series, no matter what's going on, I think it's going to be viewed as a disappointment. Like, yeah, you'll be excited for the next season. You have Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, hopefully, and a bunch of younger guys coming up. But I don't know. I got a lot of questions right now about the guys on this team, Kevin. I have a lot of questions about the roster, about the younger players, a lot.
Well, let me go to this because I want to talk about the younger guys. I don't understand because I literally don't know. And I people who tell me people who try to tell me they know how this works, I don't even believe them unless like you're a baseball MLB employee.
Yeah.
But who do I blame for young guys not developing with organizations? Who do I blame for the fact that Yankees young hitters can't hit? Who do I blame for the fact that Mets young hitters can't hit? Because I have friends who blame Boone passionately about the Yankees not being able to hit. But I'm like, is it his fault that Jason Dominguez is not that good at baseball? Is it Mendoza's fault that Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos? I know Vientos was just hurt, of course,
but don't say Brett Beatty.
But you're really just trying to pump it up for Brett Beatty Day to still mean something.
Yes. So close, 3 weeks.
But, who do I blame? Do you blame Chavez for the fact that they can't hit? Who do I blame for young players not being able to hit in Major League Baseball? But not just like, 2 or 3 young guys on the squad this decade weren't able to do it. They were failed prospects. Every single guy feels that way.
So you want to hear something hysterical?
Yeah.
So there are morons on Mets Twitter, okay? I'm going to call them morons, who will watch a Francisco Alvarez at-bat in AAA, okay?
Uh-huh.
And they'll say, oh my God, he looks exactly like he did before Chavez told him what to do. And they're saying that Chavez ruined his swing and he goes down to AAA and he's hitting now. And oh my God, they need to fire Eric Chavez. Now, whether they should fire Eric Chavez or not is a completely different story. I don't know if they should. Mm-hmm. You could honestly have the conversation. But maybe Francisco Alvarez is just down in AAA and not the major leagues and is now hitting home runs.
Yep.
There is a big difference. It's not just the hitting coach. So you have these morons sitting here blaming Chavez when they have absolutely no clue what the hell they're talking about. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it is. And Alvarez is, unfortunately, to this point, is a AAA player. You don't become the top prospect in baseball because you sucked in AAA prior. He's a superstar AAA player, and he just hasn't been able to do it in the majors. I don't blame Eric Chavez for that because people also hate to praise a guy when certain hitters hit over their expected. Like last year, Chavez, if we're using the same logic, Chavez did a lot of really good work last year. So but I also don't want to give him a ton of praise, just like I don't want to give him a ton of hate for it. I don't know how much they move the needle hitting coaches in Major League Baseball because all of these guys have their own private hitting coaches that they've been going to since before they were with their organization. They probably take their word first. And I think Chavez is more so there to just help them with some situational stuff, help them with some little, pieces here and there, especially on the road when they probably don't have access to their personal coaches.
Well, and situationally, they're terrible.
They're awful. And that's the knock on Soto still is if you're looking, he's one of 10 guys that can't hit with runners in scoring position. So I'm not just singling him out really, but you see the numbers finally starting to climb except for the risk numbers.
Yeah, they're still bad. The one thing I will say about Chavez is the players love him. Lindor absolutely loves him. The players adore him. So that's going to be a tough call if you do make it. That's going to be a tough call.
Honestly, one thing I believe in sports is most guys, after most winning baseball players, which I think Lindor is absolutely one, and I think Pete Alonso is one. I think Soto's obviously one. But most guys who are winning baseball players or winning athletes don't love a coach who has no idea what he's doing. And sometimes you do it first, and then you start to realize, I don't really think he knows what he's doing here. I think guys defend coaches, not only who they enjoy being around and have good relationships with, but that somewhat know what they're doing. Because if you're a complete idiot, these guys aren't going to hang around for it.
No. It's, again, he's a former player. He's been with the organization for a very long time. I don't think that they are going to fire him. They're not going to fire him right now. Now, whether you should have the conversation or not, that's up for debate, but they are not going to fire Eric Chavez. They're not.
No, absolutely not. And it would be too reactionary right now, too, because we still are only through June. You have July, August, September, October to make up for it. And I really do think you just sometimes have to get out of the bad month because every team has a bad month. It's just baseball. This is a worse month than the usual great team's bad month. That's why this is more alarming. But still, the Mets could go 10 games over 500 in July. We put this behind us for the time being, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, the other thing is, too, Kevin, they have this awful stretch, and they're a game and a half out of first place.
Yes.
They're the top wild card team, and they're a game and a half out of first place. So, like, the sky could be falling, and it could be a lot closer to you. It's not there yet.
Yep. So.
But Lindor, Vientos, Alonso.
I was going to go next with Lindor.
Like Lindor, he's been like there's nothing you can do. I talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago. The team goes as Lindor and Alonso go, and if they are not hitting, things don't happen. As good as Soto is, things do not happen, and that's what's currently happening right now. You talked about Lindor's OPS dropping basically close to 100 points. Alonso hasn't been great either, so. It's frustrating. It's annoying, and those guys got to get going. And then I think you're going to see because Nimmo's been great. Nimmo's been unbelievable,
and he's been a hidden gem in this whole.
Yeah,
people aren't really talking about him. That's our guy, Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo's our guy, but people haven't really been talking about him because you look at the overall numbers, and they've gotten to a point where I'd say are very good for what you expect from him. The 770 OPS based on what we started the year with, and he's getting on base now a bit more. But his numbers just keep going up. Is Lindor because of the toe injury, do you think? Because that's the timeline of this. But then if it is, I don't think it is, but then if it is, you have to blame Mendoza because he should not be playing.
Maybe early it was, but I don't think it is anymore. Like maybe
so
to start it. Yeah, it's just too he would have these. Remember, he would start off the year really poorly, right? Like he's usually due for one of these slumps.
Yep.
And he's in one right now. He's for a couple of weeks now. He's in this really bad slump. If you're gonna pin this on somebody, like, and I don't want to do this because it's for to have a stretch like this. It is not one person's fault. It's a lot of people's faults, right?
Yep.
But if you were gonna blame one person, I think Lindor would be the guy. And it's just because his importance to the team is at such a high priority. Like his success usually leads to the Mets' success, and he's not having success. He's their MVP. So that's why it would be on him, even though it's not fair.
And normally team slumps coincide with their star player slumps, because as much as we'd love to sit here and say, you know, the Mets should be able to pick up Lindor when he's down, or the Yankees should be able to pick up Aaron Judge when he's down, you pay these guys to always be up. And that's the reality of the sport. And they always come back up for the most part. So he's in a slump right now. Teams usually slump when their best player slumps. That coincides. Or even vice versa. The best players usually slump when the team's slumping. But you finally have Soto hitting, Nimmo hitting, and McNeil hitting. Vientos would be the last piece you would think to, like, coming from the offseason, you would have said, if we can get Nimmo, McNeil, and Vientos all hitting, that this lineup's going to be so dangerous, because we know Soto, Alonso, and Lindor are hitting. So can we get all six of them going at the same time? Soto, Lindor, Alonso, Nimmo, Vientos, McNeil. That would be gold for the Mets. That's what we expected before the season, or at least I expected, with McNeil having not as good of a year as he's having right now, but, you know, at least decent, competitive Jeff McNeil.
If you get those guys hitting all at the same time, you're dangerous.
You just haven't been able to yet this year.
I know.
It's been because of injuries, and it's been because of Soto's slump to start the year, and Vientos, when he played, was awful. And he's the one who I don't know if he ever comes back
I know
to what he was last year. And at the same time, you hope Nimmo and McNeil aren't peaking right now.
Yeah, I'm worried about Vientos. I'm very worried about Vientos, whether or not he's going to be a productive player for them offensively. McNeil and Nimmo, I feel good about. I do. I think they found something here. And obviously the top three, they're going to have to keep this going and be as good as they possibly can be. Now you ask the question, what do you need? Like, what do you need to go get? And Tyrone Taylor's OPS is sitting under 600 right now. So a center fielder is an absolute must at this trade deadline.
My
because
guy.
You have a couple of dead spots in this lineup right now. You need to fill them. Catcher's a dead spot. Center field's a dead spot. Third base has been a dead spot for a little bit. If Ronnie Mauricio's playing second, he's a dead spot.
The guy we didn't mention last week for center field was Cedric Mullins.
I know, but he's an obvious name.
Yeah.
I don't want him. I don't want him.
Yeah, so you're Byron me Buxton all in.
I'm Byron me Buxton all in, and then if I need to go get Duran, I'll get Duran.
So where are you at now with the comfort within the division race?
Not comfortable. Not comfortable.
You know, if I had to tell you to pick right now, who's winning this division, who would you say?
I'll probably still say the Mets, but I it's not like a great feeling. I still say the Mets. I don't love the Phillies. Like I don't love anything about them this year.
I picked them to go under 88 wins in the beginning of the year, which I think is definitely wrong at this point. And I enjoy watching them when they're good. They're a fun team as an outsider to watch, but I just don't think that they're going to win the division either.
I got to look at a couple of these.
It's a game and a half difference. Losing streak on an easier part of the schedule.
No, it didn't, though. They played the Rays, the Braves, the Phillies.
The only part
Braves.
The only part of the schedule was
easy.
The Pirates. It was the Pirates, and you if you want to just go off of records, you would say the Braves, but we know that's not the case in the division. Mets Braves, it's not the case. So it was
not true.
The easy part of the Mets schedule was where they feasted earlier in the year with the Colorados, Washingtons. They played Colorado twice in that stretch. They played Arizona a bunch of times in May. The Pirates again in May. They won that series. I'm looking at it now. And then they had the Yankees, Red Sox, And the Red Sox was where I actually thought this kind of started. I know it's actually at the Rays series, but the Red Sox.
It was 2 tough stretches. There was about a week with the Red Sox, Yankees, and then there was this.
You lost that Yankees series, but the Yankees were playing really well at the time, and it was in the Bronx. So you lost 2 or 3. I don't think it was too alarming. But then you lost the next 2 to Boston at Fenway when they were 4 or 5 games under 500.
Yeah.
And then you beat the Dodgers. That was a great feel-good pick-me-up. You beat Chicago. You beat Colorado. But I felt like over that week, that Mets loss to the Red Sox was significant.
No.
I know
it was
you
significant in that portion because it was you felt the first tough stretch of the year, but the second they got right out of it after beating the Dodgers in that series, you were like, okay, and then they went on a little bit of a run. So no,
and they won the 6 straight against Colorado and Washington, which capped the easy part of their schedule to this point in the year. And then the sweep of Tampa Bay obviously was just wherever you want to say it started. That's definitely where this stretch began because you get swept at home and then you lose to Atlanta. And that really woke up Tampa too on a different note. Was I think they were floating around, this is a good 6th wild card team. And then that series thrust them into this is an American League contender because it was going to happen at some point. It just happened to happen that weekend against the Mets. You look at what the Rays have. There's way too many good things going for them for that to not happen at some point in the year. And it did. But now we're here with the Mets, and it's just been tough. But, yeah, I don't agree that this was the tough part of their schedule. I thought the last 2.5 weeks of June here were brutal for them because, I mean, like you said it, Tampa's a 90-win team. Atlanta Mets is never easy. I don't care if Atlanta's 0-40 coming into the game. And then the Phillies is a division contender. The Braves, again, it's 7 games against the Braves in 2 weeks. And then the Pirates are easy, and you lose 85-4 against them this weekend.
Not what you want.
Not what you want. But now you enter a stretch of your schedule that's tough too. Milwaukee, the Yankees for 6 is not an easy way to get out of this hole, but you're home for all 6.
Yankees will be fine.
Oh, you know what? I was going to say this before.
What's wrong with the Yankees?
Like, don't fear because you're getting right this weekend.
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
You see the pitching matchups for this weekend?
I don't even. Yeah.
Awful. They're awful. Like, this is the most disgraceful Subway Series on the 4th of July ever.
What is it? Blackburn, Montas, and then if they want to pitch Holmes on, I think would it be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If they want to pitch him on 5 days resting, go Holmes on Sunday.
Yep.
Which they probably should do.
Yankees have Stroman on Friday.
Let's go.
I think you're missing.
I'm shocked the Yankees aren't moving Fried up or down to face the Yankees, face the Mets again.
You might get him on Sunday, actually.
They're probably gonna. Yeah, they're probably gonna move him.
You're gonna get him Sunday.
Yeah, because they love to do that.
It's gonna be Stroman, Rodon, Fried for the Yankees.
Yep, got to get those 2 guys in there. Let's move them back, so they can face their big brother there. It's good.
I heard the Yankees might give him the day off actually and bring up Winans again.
Yep. Fine.
They're looking at this squad. They're saying, like, they can't touch anyone.
Might as well.
Let's give these guys. Let's make sure they don't go too far over their innings limits this year. But that's going to be an interesting. What is Mets block party this weekend? Do you know? I wanted to ask you that. That's
they'll
like promo.
They'll shut like the street down, like literally right in front of the stadium, and they'll put food vendors and
That's
bouncy
cool.
houses and different games you could play. Yeah, it's all right.
For Yankees Mets. None of the games are at night either.
Yeah, it's awesome. Great. I can't go to any of them. I'm so pissed. This weekend,
I can't either.
Brutal, and it's I can't get to any of them.
I mean, Friday I'll be at the beach, probably listening on the radio at the beach, but the rest of the days I'm busy right until the start, so I can't get there. But I'll watch them somewhere. But I'm excited for the times of these games too.
I'm not excited for the series. I'm not excited for anything Mets related right now.
Yeah, but
except the Pat LaFrieda steak sandwich Wednesday night. That's what I'm looking forward to.
What are their pitching matchups against Milwaukee this week?
Holmes, Tidwell, Peterson. Or Peterson, Tidwell, Holmes.
And it's tough because you get Peralta, Mizorowski, and Cue Ball.
Great.
They're 3 best pitchers this year.
That's good.
Peterson's on Thursday, so it's tough.
Yep. Maybe
Yeah,
they should move Peterson back, face the Yankees like they're doing with their lefties.
Yeah, they're not actually doing that this week. Just the way it worked out.
Well,
Just the way it worked out.
The Brewer games are actually more important, so I want Peterson in that.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're definitely more important.
They are more important. They are more important.
That's
they
sure
mean more.
They
mean more. The Brewers games mean more.
They mean more for the standings. They don't mean more to you.
Yes, exactly.
Or to me.
What?
I was gonna say I have way less juice for the Subway Series though. This has been a disgraceful last 2 weeks of baseball.
Yeah, I have no juice for anything except the Pat LaFrida steak sandwich.
And it's 4th of July weekend, so I'm more excited for the beach this weekend and to just chill for the weekend.
America.
I love this country.
Celebrating America.
Yep. Anything else on the Mets, Mike?
No. I just want to crawl up in a ball and die.
Yeah, they suck. Sorry, man.
Yep.
It's not the way this was supposed to go.
Nope.
Yankees are back.
Sure.
Again. Every time they win a series and then lose, they're back. But yesterday was finally a feel-good win for them because the rest of their wins, they still haven't been hitting the last 2-3 weeks. So they finally put up 12 runs. Thank you, Luis Severino, for your donation.
How bad is he?
We're at a point, he's awful. And the thing with him, actually, is the worst home pitcher in the league, and he's one of the better road pitchers in the league, and he just got lit up yesterday.
Rocked.
But we're at a point with Jazz Chisholm right now. Your guy, Jazz Chisholm.
Right. He's
really good.
He's very good.
The ballpark suits him perfectly because he hits so many low line drives to right field that would not get out anywhere else except for Fenway down the line. And maybe Philly. But just the Mickey Mouse parks of the league.
Yeah.
But he yesterday, great at the plate, played a great third base. I want to back up one of my comments from a few weeks ago that I thought he wasn't the best third baseman on the team. He absolutely is, but he's also the best second baseman on the team, and he's a better second baseman than third baseman, so it's a whole other issue. But I want to ask you this question about the Yankees. Should they be looking to extend Jazz Chisholm before the offseason?
Yeah, I would consider it. I don't think he's going to be interested in it, and I don't think the Yankees probably would either. Like, I just think this is something that's going to have to come to fruition at some point in the offseason, right? Get an extension done then. Because, like, he's going to want to test his market. He's having a great season. And he is having a really good season.
He is. He's going to end up having a career year offensively. And I think with his potential free agency, it's a situation of he wants the Yankees because he definitely, when he's great, he loves playing there, and it's a perfect situation for him. He wants the Yankees. The Yankees would probably want him back because he's the long-term second baseman. And let's be honest about the state of second base in Major League Baseball.
Not great.
I'm not going to sit here and say Jazz Chisholm is Dustin Pedroia or like Altuve in his prime or anything. One of the better second basemen of our lifetimes, but he's by far the best second baseman in the league if he's not second,
No, it's like it's something that you consider, right? It's something that the Yankees are going to want to get done. It's going to be one of their priorities because it's not going to cost as much as other premier free agents are going to cost, right?
Yep.
Like they're not going to be in on Kyle Tucker.
No, I don't think so.
What does a contract look like for Jazz?
I'm going to look right now if they have his value on Spot Track. But I don't know because it's tough to gauge second baseman because there's none of them. Yeah, here's market value, $16.9 million a year. I'd say maybe that gets inflated, so maybe $18 million a year. And they have his projected contract at 7 for $120. 7 years is a lot for Jazz. I don't know if he'd get it if he tested his market.
Yeah.
But I think he maybe would get 4 for 80 or 85 and get a little higher on the annual, get 20, 21 on the annual and take less years.
I feel like it's going to be higher. I feel like it's going to be more.
Yeah, see, since becoming a Yankee, he's the
What's
second
Ketel
highest
Marte's
scorer
contract?
in WRC plus among all second basemen, and Ketel Marte is the only guy with more. Ketel Marte's contract. He signed a pretty team-friendly deal though at first, and then he bounced it back with the 6-year extension, $116 million.
Yeah.
So he's getting
What's the totality
of
Is that
both
word?
contracts.
Yeah.
His first one was 5 years, $76 million. His second one is 6 for $116. So it's 11 for what's 116 plus 76? Get my calculator out. It was 11 for 192 when you combine both contracts.
The latter, like his current contract, is probably around what Jazz will ask for. So around there, not as much.
6 for 116.
Yeah, something like that. So I guess 7 for 120 wasn't bad.
Yeah, 7 for 120 is about what I would say he gets, and that's what Spotrac has him at. But I do think if you hit the open market, we saw it with Gleyber Torres last year. Different players, but
yeah,
kind of similar free agents where you hit the open market and you're going to have a lot of teams who are saying there are red flags here. You're playing a position that isn't really valued or isn't really productive in today's league. So it would be nice to have you, but we could live without you at the same time. You're not an elite third baseman.
Here's the other things to consider. He isn't going to be a free agent that gets, a $200 million contract, right? At least we don't think right now. So he's going to be what most owners consider affordable. So if you're giving him a 6, 7, 8 year contract and it's not at around $200 million, a lot of owners who are going to be sitting here before the CBA expires next year and they kind of feel pressure to spend some money, you might have a couple of aggressive owners that say, you know what, I want to spend money. This guy is, he's a name, he's flashy, he had a very good season, and I feel like I can afford him. Now, you might see some owners get aggressive and offer him contracts that I don't think you would expect these teams to do.
I think that's a great point because you're going to have those central teams who spend a little bit, say, or even like a Seattle or somebody say, we can really please the fan base with this signing. The guy was a really good Yankee. He made a big name for himself in Miami and then a bigger name for himself with the Yankees, especially if the Yankees have another decent or great playoff run. And you're going to sit there and be able to say, we could really make a lot of people happy by spending an amount of money that we're also really happy to spend.
Right.
We don't have to we're not going to get Kyle Tucker this offseason, but we could get Jazz Chisholm and get our fans really excited, sell some jerseys, sell some tickets.
Be interesting. Jazz's free agency is going to be very interesting.
It is. And it's going to be interesting to me to see how much the Yankees want him back. Because I think they should want him back, but I understand why they wouldn't be sold on him for 6 or 7 years.
Makes sense.
But I understand also your point.
28.
Why a team would easily be sold on him. And he's a great athlete. You get a defender who obviously can play multiple positions at a really high level. You get a great middle infielder. And a guy that when he's on, he's fun as anybody at his position. So, yeah, we'll see. He's an interesting case. Very interesting. What else today? Judge finally back. 2 home runs. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, he took a little break there.
Did you see the guy Ferguson on the A's, what he said before the game?
No, what he said?
Judge. He's a Fresno. I should pull up the exact quote, but he's a Fresno, California guy, and so is Judge. And he said something, I heard it on the radio last night on their post-game show on FAN, but said something about, like, can't wait to strike him out type of thing.
Okay.
And he comes in relief, and Judge takes him into the bleachers in left field. And after the game, they asked Judge, did you see his comments? And Judge just flashes a smile and was like, no, I didn't. This is the first I'm hearing of them.
Yeah, Judge is the man. It's hard not to like Judge. It's really tough not to like him. I kind of want to dislike him, and I can't.
No, it's impossible. Because even when he has a bad game and there is a loss, the way you were talking about Lindor before, when there's a loss where you're like, man, Judge really didn't come through tonight, I can't even say it out loud.
I know.
And I can't even be like, I had a friend the other day text, and granted, one of my best friends in the world, absolute maniac Yankee fan, and he texted, he's like, Judge never comes through because of the whole, like, he doesn't have
Low leverage
thing.
Low leverage,
Mr. Low leverage. He's like, Judge never comes through. And while I understand the low leverage argument, especially in the postseason, guy wins the MVP every year. You think he doesn't come through for the Yankees?
He's the first player since Mark McGwire to have 30 home runs before the All-Star break.
And this is a stat I saw. It was one of those wordy stats, but just because there's so many Judge stats, pulling it up right now, that first he's now third Yankees all-time multi-home run games with 44, past Lou Gehrig, who had 43. Babe Ruth's the leader with 68. But this was the stat, was players in Major League Baseball history to have at least 30 home runs and 50 walks prior to July in consecutive seasons, and he's the only one to ever do it.
I think I said the stat wrong. 4 times to have 30 home runs before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
He is Mark McGwire, the only 2 to ever have that. 4 times, 30 home runs for the All-Star break.
The low leverage thing, too, because I will address this comment, is I've said on this show before, if he was a good playoff performer, not even great, if he was just good, there would be no low leverage thing, because now people only remember the times Judge doesn't come through after the 7th inning, and nobody talks about the times he does. If you look at leader in go-ahead runs knocked in after the 7th inning, almost every year of Judge's career, he leads the entire league.
I have a new nickname for him, like a rage bait nickname. Low leverage meatball masher. That's what I've been calling him.
Worse than Byron Me Buxton.
No, Byron Me Buxton is great.
James Wood, best player in the NL East. Thoughts, Mike?
Nope. Juan Soto exists.
Wood is insane, though.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
We talked a little Nats last week, but Nats might be a team that come up on this show a lot more, because
I love the Nats, but
they're starting to become a team that is enjoyable to watch, even though they're 20 games under 500.
Did you see what happened yesterday? He got intentionally walked 4 times against the Angels. So like I'm sitting there, like people are freaking out on Twitter, and I almost like retweeted it and like commented, but I just didn't. Like, yeah, James Wood is great. Like, don't get me wrong, but this is more of an indictment on the Nats just being terrible behind him. Like, there's no reason to pitch to him when the team is awful.
Yeah, exactly. He's not as great as he is, and he might be one of these guys one day. He's not Bonds, Judge. He's not even Soto with the walk, like, in the big spot yet. It's just, who's walking up behind him, you or me? And you're going to pitch to you or me instead of James Wood.
Well, I wouldn't pitch to me, but you maybe, yeah.
That would be a mistake, to choose you over me to pitch to. That would be a huge mistake.
We got Mr. Rage Bait in the comments right now. This is just insane.
Well, we talked about it last week a little bit,
this is great.
Yeah, well, he might not even start there.
Who's the starting third baseman right now?
I don't know, but defensively, he's better than Vientos.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
They're gonna plug that guy in.
In all serious,
Ducks legend too. Dan Murphy.
In all seriousness, like I'd rather Soto. Like I would. I like Soto is having
than James Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, yeah, okay. His OPS is 20 points better than his. Okay. Whoop-de-doo. Soto is on a heater, and if I need somebody to come up in a big spot, to get on base, get a hit, get the big hit, it's Soto. It's not James Wood yet, at least.
Mm-hmm. That makes the stats more impressive in response to the 4 walks, but in the context of the 4 walks, it just is why it happened.
In just the 4 walks, that's why it happened. Of course,
not on his entire season. That makes his season more impressive. But
right.
But this Nationals trade for Soto, it's going to go down in history.
It's a great trade.
CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, James Wood, Luke Voigt.
Mackenzie Gore, I'm not just going to let that one go. Mackenzie Gore is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Soto's the worst defensive outfielder. You know, there's a Soto debate here. for against Wood. This is just the way I'm gonna phrase it. One game, Game 7 of the World Series, I can put James Wood or Juan Soto on my team. I'm taking Juan Soto.
That's how I'm looking at it.
That's it.
That's how I look at it.
That's
my
simple argument. In 2-3 years, I might feel different. Wood is that great right now, and he's 22. And you might feel. I think this is an MVP type of guy.
It is,
but
he is.
I'm not going to get there right now with him being better than Soto, who just got $770 million as a free agent. He's the highest paid baseball player of all time for a reason. I'm not going to go there yet. But the Nationals fans have been able to forget Soto now pretty easily because they have this guy. So for Nats fans, it's great.
It's incredible, like watching Soto on a daily basis when he's on this tear, like he's been for the entire month of June, because as a Mets fan, I've never seen a player this good. Mm-hmm. And then like when you hear like Ron Darling and Gary Cohen, like they were after he hit the home run on Friday, and they were just saying like they're amazed, like the amount of baseball they've watched in their lives and played. To have them just be in awe of what Juan Soto is doing, it like really makes you think about it even more. Like how good this guy is. It's incredible. He's so much fun to watch. He really is.
I think this is gonna probably make a little bit of no sense, but I think last year he became slightly overrated with the Yankees, and this year with the Mets he's become slightly underrated. Because while he's not the second or third best player in baseball, he's not like the sixth or seventh either. And this year, that's where people are almost putting him as like outside. I think he's the fourth or fifth best hitter in the world. Easy. Probably, maybe even third best hitter in the world.
He's remarkable. I mean, that's where he was last year, though. He was third last year. It was behind Judge and
he was. Top. And last year, I think because of the hitting, and we do this a lot, but I think we meshed him into the third best, or like the league did. And the contract obviously was a representation of Soto being, I guess, overrated, but like that's what you have to pay for him.
Yeah,
players get paid more than what they're worth most of the time, especially in baseball. But he's way better than people seem to think now that he is. Because you watch him on this tear, he's an impossible out when he's on, more than any other player in baseball.
You just can't strike him out. You very rarely you're going to strike him out. He's not going to chase out of the zone. You got to beat him in the zone and you're not going to do that much.
In a weird way, it's way easier to get Ohtani and Judge out than it is to get Soto out.
Well, there was that poll a couple weeks ago in The Athletic. Who is you're a pitcher, and who is the one guy you do not want to face? Guy on first, tying run on first, Game 7, bottom 9. Who do you not want to face? And a majority of the votes were Soto, not Witt, not Witt.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Acuna, we both keep going on it. Acuna, yeah, totally.
Yep, I'm taking those three.
Not Witt.
Not Witt. Right, top 3, and then I'd say
can't go Witt.
See, like we're gonna come here and criticize what I said because of the stats and everything. They're not better hitters, but in a way, if I'm a pitcher, I feel more confident that I could possibly get Judge or Ohtani out than Soto when Soto is on.
Just because it's tough to get Soto to chase.
Yeah, it's impossible to get him to chase. It's not impossible to get Judge to chase, especially as great as he is. And Ohtani is probably harder to get out than Judge even, but it's in a weird way because he doesn't get out more. Like Judge gets out the least of those guys, but it's just a weird thing. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying because there are certain situations like when the Mets were playing the Dodgers last year in the postseason, and when Ohtani would come up, I felt like it was impossible to get Ohtani out because Ohtani really doesn't chase that much either, especially in those big spots.
He doesn't get enough credit for his eye.
So I'm like, how do you get this guy out? It almost felt like the Soto comparison a little bit. With Judge, like I feel like you could get, I completely agree with you. You feel like you can get Judge to chase a little bit. There are certain guys you just feel like you can get them to chase.
And again, that's not saying Judge isn't the best hitter in the world.
No, he's the best hitter in the world.
When Judge doesn't get out, you pay a way larger price most of the time than the other two. What do you think about this?
Witt's not having a good enough season for me to say that, he's not carrying his weight offensively for me to say that right now. So when he starts to do that, sure, because his defense is obviously not even in the same class as Soto. He's an unbelievable defender at a very important position, but his offense is not carrying enough weight for me. So no, not yet.
It's not. I love Witt. I'm a sucker for Witt because he's like the classic prototype 5-tool shortstop. So I was almost at a point last year where I was thinking Witt over Judge. I never got there, but I was almost there. I know it's ridiculous, but I'm probably even it's a really tough thing for me to put Soto or Witt above the other because I love both players. I want to just check out Witt's updated stats on the year.
Soto's got 20 homers, 47 RBIs, 900 OPS.
Yeah, Witt's 11 home runs, 43 RBIs, 829 OPS. He's got 21 stolen bases, though. It's obviously a big booster.
Soto's got 9.
Yeah. I don't know, they're both great players.
Stealing bags.
They're in that grouping of, I don't think they're top 3, but they're in the 4 to 7 range of guys that are probably more interchangeable than the top 3 are.
And Acuna now, too, who's back and just killing it. Literally killing it.
Yeah, he's been incredible. He's been the best player in baseball since he got back, no?
Yeah.
I'd have to look to see if anybody's been better. Where's Big Dumper in this whole equation, too? Where's Big Dumper in this?
A little far down. Acuna's got 9 homers, 18 RBIs, hitting 361 and 1100 OPS. He's already got 2.1 WAR. It's insane.
Imagine they had him for the whole year. He would have contributed to 5 or 6 more wins at least.
Probably.
Yeah, this is good. In his last 2 years combined, Soto's 6th in
he's insane.
Fangraphs WAR. I think that's probably right around where he is overall.
It's my guy. It's my guy, Soto.
And your guy, Big Dumper, better than Soto.
No, I wouldn't rather Riley. It's 1 year.
What do you say?
That's
saying
crazy.
He's on roids?
That's 1 year.
You know what's funny?
1 year.
You made that joke to me last week about am I insinuating something that?
Yeah.
And all of the comments on the TikTok video about Rally were test him.
It's 1 year of Cal Riley having a what's the word? Elite offensive season.
Good defender too.
Over Soto. Yeah, okay. Please.
The defense. The argument that you can make right now is the defense, him being a catcher and just being so involved with every play and doing his job when you're so involved with 150 pitches a game. Meanwhile, Soto can't do his job on 3 fly balls sometimes to right field.
He does his best out there.
He does his best. He tries his hardest. And that's all we could ask of him is that he tries his hardest and he competes and he cares and he has fun. That's the most important is you have fun. But that's the argument for Rally is that you have him behind the plate giving you a good defense. Soto, questionable out and right.
Cal Riley had a 220 batting average with a 748 OPS. So, yes, it was not a good offensive season.
Yeah, it was almost like he only hit the 34
home runs. It wasn't an elite offensive season. It was, okay, he had a productive season.
Like, he's a great power hitter. We thought he was Kyle Schwarber after last year. Okay, next Kyle Schwarber. Now,
yeah, but at least Kyle Schwarber now gets on base and has a high OPS.
Well, Cal Riley right now might win the MVP, so.
I'm just saying. No, they gave him a 1 year contract. They gave him a 1 year contract because he did not do enough last year. That's the point and why he didn't get a long-term extension. Now, if he continues
3 months of nobody calling Alonso They gave him a 1-year deal.
Yeah. Got a 1-year contract because he didn't do enough because he had homers and RBIs, but he did not have a good batting average and he did not have a high OPS.
Maybe next week we have to do the Soto Who'd You Rather with the top 10 players in the league.
Yeah, might have to. Gonna get a lot of hate for that one.
Plan for it. We didn't want to put one in here today because it was just so bad with the Mets. But I'm good on today if you don't have any.
I got some pickleball to play.
All right.
Locked in.
Careful out there, man. Careful out there.
What?
Dangerous game.
Oh yeah. You've gotten hurt?
Many times. Not with pickleball.
Okay.
Never with pickleball. But I do hear pickleball is leading to a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Hip injuries, specifically. Don't hurt your hip.
I'm not going to.
All right. That's a wrap. Episode 61. We're going to wrap it up there. We appreciate all the comments. Appreciate you watching. We'll be back with episode 62 later in the week. Mets hopefully win at least one game before then. Yankees hopefully win every game before then because they are back. But we have Subway Series coming up this weekend, so we'll definitely have an episode before that, probably Thursday on the 3rd.
Yep.
We will have an episode, but we appreciate you sticking with us. Go follow BTO Media. Follow everything that has to do with it. Listen to the pods on Spotify. Remember, this podcast on Spotify and Apple is only under the Burrows. It's not under BTO Media. And follow the playbook. Gabe Soda. Hardline, allegedly back this offseason.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All sports. Hardline going right back. The Hardline Sports Talk. Welcome back. All right. Thanks for watching. Monday, June 30th. That was episode 61 of The Burrows. We'll see you in the next one.